welcome to another episode of Time Out with Derek and Joe. For Joe Azalina, I'm Derek No. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us. Just a quick reminder for those that don't know, if you're watching us on YouTube, fantastic. Don't forget to click the subscribe button so you'll be able to get all of our videos whenever we put up some new videos. If you are not watching on YouTube, I don't know where else you're watching, but you should be watching on YouTube. If you just want to listen, don't forget to subscribe on all our podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, many more. We're everywhere on podcast platforms if you want to listen there. Today, Joe, we jump back into our top 5 lists with another position.
Yes, today, Derek and the audience alike, we have the second base position. And I will have to say that as much as I knew a lot of these guys, I had a little hard time ranking some of them. And I have a very surprising one on the list that I will defend later to everybody. And it is going to be so exciting as the first time on Timeout, we are going to use a wheel of names as Derek has come up with this great creative idea. And I am ready. So let's go, Derek.
Real quick, I will say second base was very interesting to create this list. It seemed to be the only one that there are people who shift around, and are they technically a second baseman, or are they going to be moving to third base? Are they shortstop, first base? There are kind of guys that are all over the place. So if you look at someone on this list and say, are they a second baseman? All right, just give us a break. All right. They're either probably playing this year or they played a majority of their career at second base. So that's where we're going. I'm going to start sharing my screen here and we will get started. Can you see, Joe? All right.
Yep.
So here we go.
Screen.
Here is our normal chart. You see all the legends on the side. Top 3 in each category are highlighted. 2019 and 2020 seasons. We have 15 players here we're going to be talking about. But for those who have missed previous episodes, we've talked about shortstop, pitcher, catcher, first base. Now we're on to second base. And we're trying something a little different, as Joe mentioned. We're going to spin a wheel. And we're going to talk about each one of these 15 guys. Let's spin the wheel first, Joe, to see who comes up. And our first guy talking about is going to be Cavan Biggio is going to be the first one.
Yes.
Let me remove him, and let's move here. I'll talk about Cavan Biggio first, Joe, because he's actually one of my honorable mentions. You see, all he's highlighted in is that he's 20 stolen bases, the highest by far walk rate, 16.1. Next closest. So second basemen don't seem to walk very much, is what I'm seeing off this list. But only 159 games, so I'd be interested to see. His numbers would probably be right up there with anyone. Very young, 25 years old. He might be moving to third base now, so he may be off this second baseman list in the future. But to make way for Marcus Semien, who's moved into Toronto. But what are your quick thoughts on Cavan Biggio, Joe? I know he's not on your list, but
yeah. And Derek, I think I missed it. Where did you have him at? What number was he?
Honorable mention.
Okay. Yeah, he's a really intriguing player. I learned about him a couple years ago as he got drafted, and I was a big fan of his dad, Craig Biggio, who was one of those guys that played the game hard. He was talented. He wore the Houston Astros uniform his whole career. Catcher, shortstop, or catcher, second base, and center field. But Cavan, he has a good chance to be really good. He's got really good gap power for his age. And he's also surrounded with a lot of good players. You mentioned Simeon. He's
Yeah.
going to have Springer there and Guerrero and Dante Bichette Jr. I just look at his WAR's at a 4, and he hasn't even played that much.
Yeah.
Slugging's got to get better, and I would say his average is going to jump higher, a lot higher. But his
Hmm.
RBI is even almost at 80. So yeah, I think that was a really good pick on your part, and Gavin Biggio will be very exciting to watch as the future comes.
So let's spin the wheel for the next guy on our list, and that would be, oh, here he is,
Oh,
Gavin Lux. Take it away, Joe.
okay. So when I looked at second baseman, and I have him at 6. It might have been a little too high. I should have probably had him at 7 or 8, but I don't know. I do like him a lot. He was a top pick in the draft in well, I would say the last 3 to 4 years, because he's only
2016.
thank you, 2016. So that's what, 5 years. Uh the Dodgers have loved him ever since they drafted him. He's really done a good job in the minor leagues. He was protected in some of their big trades. Like, I don't think he was even discussed in the trade that sent Mookie Betts to LA. I know going back when Cole Hamels was traded, there was talk about him, but the Phillies had no chance. Um, he's going to have more time to play now with the subtraction of Kiki Hernandez going to Boston. But if you look at his numbers, I know he only played 42 games in the 2 seasons. He did get 150 plate appearances, even though that's the lowest on the list. Um, he's still showing that he's going to score runs at 20. His K percentage is pretty high right now. That hopefully will drop for him. And his slugging percentage is pretty high, actually. He's going to be a Jeff Kent type player. I think he's going to hit a lot of doubles. He'll hit his home runs. I'm telling you, Gavin Lux belongs on this list, and that's why I have him there, Derek.
So this is truly, from now going forward, this is who you want. So yeah, you see the numbers. He's not quite there yet, but you wonder if this is the. There are talks about him taking over the second base role. Will he take over the role over probably someone else on this list here, Chris Taylor, who we will be talking about? And that's probably to determine whether or not he's going to be the starting second baseman. If he does, there he goes. So, spinning the next wheel, the next guy we're talking about is he gonna be number one? DJ
Oh,
LeMahieu.
well, we both have him.
I think we both have him at number one, correct? And I don't think there's much saying otherwise. Do you want to start us off with Joe?
Sure. He played in Colorado early in his career. Um, he hit really well there. He comes to New York with a spotlight all over him, and all he's done is rake. I mean, in almost 200 games, look at this. He had 268 hits, 36 home runs. Uh, I don't want to steal all the stats, but let me tell you something. This guy is a player, and anybody probably would have gave him the contract. I know the Blue Jays were interested in him. You saw how they did. Um, the Mets, I'm sure, had some they probably had an interest in him. He goes back to New York because he wants to win a World Series, and with their lineup, if they can stay healthy, DJ LeMahieu will be thought of like Derek Jeter. Like, he's just a great player, and you don't even hear much about him in a negative light. So I think this was a no-brainer. Thank you, Wheel, for spoiling it for us. But DJ LeMahieu is my number one, and that is pretty much why, Derek.
Number one, it wasn't even really close for me. He's got, you see it, the most gold gloves with three of them. Got one 2014, 2017, and 18. So potential for that every year. He's been the top four in the MVP vote the past 2 seasons, including hitting 364 last year. 364. which is a pretty amazing. So 348 back in Colorado in 2016. Well, by far, it seems like the best hitter. Most plate appearances, hits 268, low K average, or he does not strike out. By evidence of him having the most hits among second basemen. Um, on base percentage is the highest. You name it, he's the highest when it comes to second baseman. Um, you mentioned it. It should be interesting. That 6-year deal that he got. He's going to be 38 years old when that deal ends. How far much longer is he going to be in that top tier of second baseman? Will be the question whether or not the Yankees regret that deal or not. But right now, they're definitely not, because they have the best second baseman in baseball in DJ LeMahieu. Spinning our wheel once again, Joe. Who will it land on next? Oh, Jeff McNeil
Oh,
is. So I'll take Jeff McNeil because I have him on my list. Now I realize you may not have saw him on your list because I think he's been mostly a third baseman or left fielder past few years, but he's going to be starting second base this season for the Mets. McNeil can hit. We can flat out say that. You see the 52 doubles is the most amongst everyone over the past 2 seasons. Uh, very low K percentage, 12.8%. Very hits for average, 316. Hit gets on base, which is second at 384. High WAR, and can play multiple positions,
yeah.
which absolutely benefited the Mets this year. In that, obviously Robinson Cano was suspended for the entire season, so McNeil just bumps right in there. They didn't feel the need to go out and get someone like a DJ LeMahieu or a Colton Wong, who was a free agent. The Mets didn't feel the need because they thought that Jeff McNeil, Joe, could fill that second base position.
The only thing I was thinking about when you talked about him playing other places, the Mets did sign 3 interesting names. Now it's going to depend on what they do. They signed Almora and Pilar, who both can play center field. They also signed Jonathan Villar, who's a former Philly prospect, and he also has played second and center. So I'm thinking with the guys, what I'm saying is, if JD Davis struggles, you're probably looking at McNeil starting the year at second. But if Davis struggles at third, or Dominic Smith in left struggles, you could put McNeil either there.
Yeah.
But now you have Villar, who could play second and center. So they have a lot of interchangeable parts. And that's the thing. But no, listen, I've watched Jeff McNeil enough to know he can really hit. There's no doubt about it. He has crazy good at bats. He's a contact guy. He's not really a power guy. Where do you have him on your list?
I didn't even say. I have him number 3.
Okay.
Actually. Number
Yeah,
3. He's pretty high up there.
Derek, he's really underrated too.
Yeah.
He's one of those underrated guys. He'd be a guy that I say, yeah, he's a winner, and he's gonna probably help the Mets in their core to get them where they need to be and where they want to be. So good pick on Jeff McNeil.
So we'll spin again, and you can take this one, Joe. Do you have anything on Hanser Alberto?
Well, he's not on my list.
He did play for Baltimore the past few years, but now he's in Kansas City, who will actually be talking about in next week, actually.
That's right. On Monday, we'll have our AL Central preview, and the Royals are definitely there. Yeah, Hanser Alberto, 28 years old. He had 800, almost 800 plate appearances. That goes up with looks like Frazier, Hernandez, guys that are really durable. Ozzie Albies. So he's durable. I remembered him in Baltimore. 97 runs scored. He's a fast guy, fast player. The K percentage is on the lower side, actually. And a 299 average.
The best,
I don't have a lot about him, but I do know that he's a pretty decent player, and we both have him off our list. And Maybe we should have looked at our honorable mentions a little better, especially me. But yeah,
Now, I think he kind of benefited from playing on a bad team for the past few years. Baltimore. I mean, Kansas City isn't going. I don't think going to be much better.
no, they're improving though.
But he's. I know there's a young guy, I believe we're going to talk about, who could take the second base job this season. But he's again multi-dimensional. He could play third. I think he'd probably go to first base if they need him. Um, Utility guy, I think on a good team
Yeah.
is Hanser Alberto, but that K percentage, that's the lowest. So that's someone who you throw out there as a utility
Pinch
player.
hitter.
Yeah,
Pinch
and
hitter.
you know he's
You
not
know?
going to strike
Yeah.
out. That's absolutely
Right.
not what you want from a pinch hitter. So
Right.
that's a very
True.
interesting name. We'll see where Hanser Alberto goes in the future. Which will bring us
Well,
to Jose Altuve. I know he's on your list, Joe.
so this will be I really had to talk myself into this because um well, he's number 5, I'll say.
Mhm.
I just, of course I have a hard time with the whole cheating scandal, and he's a part of that.
Yeah,
But he definitely can hit. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. He's a very high average guy. He had 290, 20 home runs. He's gonna have to be a lot of home runs this year from him because of the loss of Michael Brantley and the loss of George Springer. They definitely lost players there
yeah,
in Houston. But I don't know. Jose Altuve, man, he's just a good player. 30 years of age, 36 home runs in the last 2 seasons, 121 runs scored. And if you look at it, he doesn't really rate the highest out of second base. He's only in the top 10 by only 1. And if I were actually to rank these, I would rank Hernandez above him. He's got to cut down on strikeouts. 16 to me is a little too high. He's just a good player. He's got a gold glove. I don't know. He's that intangible guy. 5 foot, nothing. He's
yeah,
just a great bat. Do you have an opinion on Altuve, Derek? I know you don't have him, but
yeah. Well, 5'6". I mean, and
right,
you
5'6".
wonder how the heck does he get 31 in 2019? He had 31 homers and then 5 in this past season. Is he on his downward trend? I don't. His peak seemed to be from 24 to 28. There, he was an all-star every season. He was in at least the top 13. It looks like in MVP voting every season. Um, so batting averages that ranged from 313 all the way up to 346. But last year, only 5 home runs, hit 219. um the negative Nancy's out there are going to say, well, that is after we found out about this scandal, so maybe now he's struggling all of a sudden.
Right.
I don't know, let's see it again this year, and if he struggles again, I think the Astros may struggle. So
True.
Altuve, yeah, 30 years old, is he out on his downward swing? Maybe. I'm sure he's probably only gonna go down as opposed to up again, but another interesting name in Jose Altuve. Let's spin the wheel again for the next person. I'll take the lead on this one, even though I believe he's on your list and not on my list. But
Right.
Mike Moustakas, who brought over from Kansas City. I want to say, what is this? Maybe his second
Well,
or third year
it
for.
wasn't. I don't think it was a trade. It was a free agent signing. But
Okay, okay.
but he did play in Kansas City. You're right about that.
Yeah, you
Absolutely.
you did the research. You take Mike Moustakas. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. He's just a winner. I mean, the guy won a World Series, like you said, at the Royals that year, and I think it was 2012, if I'm not mistaken. If it wasn't then, it was like 14 or 15. I can't remember exactly. Feels like a long time ago, Derek.
Yeah, I think it was 15
Okay,
I think it was 15. I think we talked about that in an old show. I think
that's
that was
right.
what it was.
Well, he walks a lot. He's not really. He's a 25 to 30 home run guy. He just looks like a baseball player. I know that sounds odd, but like he does. He just looks like a baseball player. big guy, likes to play the game, good attitude. 43 home runs in 2 years is nothing to sneeze about.
Number
114
one.
114 RBIs is really good too. His walk percentage at about 10 is pretty dang good also. The on base percentage is interesting because it's not real high, but it's also not low. It's right in the middle at 329. No Gold Glove because he's not an outstanding defender. But Mike Moustakas is a player that will win if he's on a right team. The Reds are not trending on the right way right now. I hope he gets out of there in the next couple seasons, but I like him as a player. He's probably one of my favorite non-Philly players. I really like Mike Moustakas a lot.
And where did you say you had him on your list, Joe? You may have said.
I actually have him at 7.
Honorable mention. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this will be his second season in Cincinnati. You mentioned during our AL Central show, will he regret signing that contract now because they may be going downward based on all the players that they gave up. I mean, a guy who can hit you 30, 35 home runs, you're going to throw in the middle of that lineup, which is not something you see more from a second baseman. I'd be interested to see why I don't honestly know why he made the move from third base to second base. I know he was basically a third baseman up until
Suarez,
like 2 years ago. So,
Suarez has something to do with it. The Reds third baseman. Now, I heard rumors earlier in the year the Nationals liked him. If the Nationals get off to a good start, maybe they trade for him. Moustakas can very well go to third. You're right about that.
Yeah, I'm sure he's definitely a trade candidate. So his contract, he signed through 2023, 4 years, $64 million. So that's a lot to take on, but he's probably good for another 2-3 years. He hasn't really shown signs of slowing down. You know what you're getting from him, a 240, 250 hitter with a lot of home runs in the middle of that lineup. So yeah. Mike Moustakas is another interesting name. Let's spin the wheel, Joe.
The wheel
See
is
who
going.
we come up with next. Is it going to be Chris Taylor?
I don't have him.
No, neither do I.
Okay.
So Chris Taylor is probably someone who is going for the second base position. He's kind of been all over the place. I know he played a lot of center, probably in 2019, but now Bellinger moved to center field. So Chris Taylor has played some shortstop. He can play third. I think he can pretty much play every position except for pitcher and catcher. And I guess you look at Chris Taylor as really more of a super utility guy rather than an ultimate starter, right, Joe?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I remember a game I was at in Philly against the Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw pitched the game. It was pretty wild. September of 2018, I'm going to say. And it was so cool because Chris Taylor started the game, I think, at maybe second base. And then in like the 5th or 6th inning, he went to center field. And I'm like, well, this guy is one of their guys that they can throw in. Max Muncy. That's what he reminded me of. Even though Max Muncy is more of an infielder, so that's not really great comparison. But Chris Taylor is just an average player. He's a pretty decent hitter. He's not somebody that you want to sit there and be like, oh, man, he's going to change the team. He's just a guy that's like a real good role player.
Right.
Like that 6-man in basketball.
None of his stats really jump out at you. Like I look at his stats over previous years, and the only one they have highlighted is 170 strikeouts in 2018. So he doesn't do anything especially well, but he's consistent. He's a guy you can count on to fill in for anyone who gets injured. So he's been a very key part of that LA Dodgers team, and especially with Hernandez now gone, if someone like Gavin Lux, as we mentioned, takes that second base position, he's going to be the true utility guy and will probably still get 500 at bats and fill in for everyone else throughout the entire infield and outfield. So very interesting name, Chris Taylor. Probably will never make our lists, but still someone who's very integral to his team. which will bring
Oh
us to
boy.
another player who is very integral to his team, and I'm very interested to see what you say about him when we talk about the Indians in this coming AL Central preview. But Cesar Hernandez, what do you have to say? I know he's on your list somewhere, Joe.
Yeah, I got him at 8, so he rounds out the other honorable mention. All right, when I wrote him down, I was happy to do it. This guy is as steady as you're gonna get. I have that in my notes. He's just a steady player. He never he never like would wow you at the bat in Philly because he played most of his. He was drafted by the Phillies. He came up as a young kid. Um, but man, could he play defense? He just showed that by winning an his I think it was his first Gold Glove,
Yes.
if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken. Um, he just hits doubles. He wears you out with doubles. Looking at the graphic, which doesn't surprise me, durable as anybody.
Yeah.
Actually, look at this. He's the one that actually played the most games out of all these guys.
Number one.
Unbelievable. Almost 1,000 plate appearances. He was one of the most underrated second basemen I think the Philadelphia Phillies have ever seen. In Cleveland, he's been very, very consistent. I'm interested to see what he can do with Jose Ramirez this year. With the loss of Santana and Lindor, it's going to be tough. But I'll tell you right now, if I'm starting a team, he's on my team because he is just really, really consistent, Derek.
Yeah,
Year in and
and
year out.
there are times where consistency is all you want, and you know you're pretty much getting 12 to 15 home runs. You're getting around
Yep.
60 RBIs. You know, you're getting
290.
around 80, 85 runs, 280,
Yep. Yep.
85. You know
Yep.
what you're getting out of Cesar Hernandez. And that's someone who's the definition of an honorable mention. I'm sure he's not a top five second baseman. I don't think anyone would really say that,
Yeah.
but he's definitely a top 10, and you know what you're getting. You're getting the games, you're getting the plate appearances. Granted, that a lot of that is due to him hitting first in the lineup, so that's why he has a lot of plate appearances.
True.
Um, but Cesar Hernandez is still a great player, 30 years old. So um, another person. So you just one more year, I believe it looks like, team option in 2022. So we'll see if he stays in Cleveland or if he goes somewhere else, maybe back to Philadelphia. Who knows? Um,
Oh,
so the next player
interesting.
who we spun on our wheel is Adam Frazier, who we just talked about in the NL Central, um, playing for a struggling Pittsburgh Pirates team who could potentially be traded
Hmm.
in coming seasons. Who knows? But you see, he's right up there with the same amount of games almost as Cesar Hernandez. Third in plate appearances with 839. Um, Still gets a lot of runs, a lot of doubles, 40 doubles, 265 average. Not again, nothing spectacular, Joe, but still someone 29 years old who's made a solid spot for Pittsburgh, and you wonder if he can create a solid spot in someone else's lineup in the future here.
Yeah, Frazier's just one of those players that I'm sure, like you just said, somebody's going to look at him. The Pirates trade anybody and their brother, so it wouldn't shock me if they don't
Yeah.
trade him. But 102 runs scored has got to be interesting to GM. 17 home runs in 2 years, not bad. With again, who's around you? Like, there's nobody in the
Yeah.
lineup. I mean, Charlie Hayes' son, Cabrian, as we went through in the NL Central show. He'll be good, but he's going to probably take a couple of years to adjust. I don't think he'll be great out of the gate. Um, Good luck to Adam Frazier. He's in a real tough spot. He's in a. I would want to be traded if I were him.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You want to win?
And so honestly, I think a lot of these are on my list. I haven't had one in so long here.
Yeah, there you
Colton
go.
Wong is our next name. He's definitely on my list. Do you want to start out with Colton Wong, Joe?
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in myself in this one. I really like him as a player. I just don't know if I could see him going in my top 5, and I wasn't going to put him in honorable mention, so that's why he's not on my list. I always like the
Oh,
defensive
he's
plays
not
in
on your
St.
list. That's right.
He's
Okay.
not on my list. The St. Louis guy that I always remember him for, now going to Milwaukee. They're sneakily becoming good, Derek. Colton Wong,
Yeah.
Yelich, Kane. We'll talk about it at another time, but yeah, I like Colton Wong, and I'm excited and interested to hear what you have to say about him.
Very good defensively is the thing. You see the 2 Gold Gloves there. The speed you're gonna get out of him. 29 stolen bases in the past 2 years. Again, someone who's gonna stay healthy for you. 201 games the past 2 years, which is third amongst all second basemen. Again, someone you know what you're going to get out of, and not a huge power guy. You see the 12 home runs. That's not really his game. But he's someone who's going to get you hits. He hits for average 280. He's going to get on base
Attacks. Yeah.
258. Um, and someone who doesn't really strike out. You see that 14% is somewhere low amongst everyone else. Again, someone who's not completely flashy in terms of the numbers, but Colton Wong definitely is going to give you he's good on the base paths and he's great defensively, which is why Milwaukee brought in Colton Wong, because we're going to talk about Keston Hura is not going to be the second baseman anymore.
No,
So,
lost his
and that
job.
was partially because he couldn't play defense. So, Colton Wong, someone they brought in to play defense, and I'm sure someone who is going to be a great leader for that team as well, with a lot of young pieces there in Baltimore, in Milwaukee. So people like Colton Wong and Lorenzo Kane, they're going to be the leaders of that team. So I actually have Colton Wong as number 4 on my list. Number 4 is
He could
Colton
also
Wong.
hit the top of the order too. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not too.
Yes.
Right before Yelich.
Which
Yup.
and we spin the wheel, which brings us
Teammates.
to one Keston Hira. Funny how things work out. And yes, as we mentioned, Keston Hira there you see at the bottom of the chart. Probably for a reason though.
He's young though.
Ton of power for Keston Hira. You see the 32 home runs, very young, 24 years old. So maybe in that dreadful K percentage of 32.3, which is the highest amongst all these players.
He's boomer bust, Eric.
I did, yeah. The definition, it seems, lots of doubles too, but someone who's actually going to be moving to first base most likely because one Colton Wong kicked him out, and he's not very good defensively. So, will he ever make our top first baseman list? I don't know. He would have to put up some great numbers, in my opinion, at least.
Well, I also think that Hira, and you know me and my trades, but man, he screams trade. When you lose a position like that, I think Vogelbach is there at first base, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
I know he's not like a great hitter, but he still hits home runs. They'll give Hura a chance, I'm sure, but I would not mind seeing Hura traded for a pitcher, because then they get another guy in the rotation. Maybe. I mean, they don't have a great rotation, but Hura, yeah, he's a decent bat. I mean, he's 24 years old. You said it though; those strikeouts are ridiculous. Um, Look at Lux; he's only 4% behind him, and he's played in
Well,
fewer games. You know,
Well,
so
and yeah,
I
you look
mean,
at those games for Hira, 143 in comparison to most of these guys who are at least like 50 games more, and
right.
he's got the 32 home runs, which is just as good as anyone else, and the
True.
81 RBIs. He's got the power numbers. If he
Yeah.
continues the power numbers, I'm sure he'll find a spot to stay on that team.
Okay.
But yeah,
It'll be
hopefully he gets a
interesting.
little bit better defensively, and that K percentage has got to get better.
Walk a little bit
Um,
more, right?
which
Oh,
brings us to our final 3, and I think these 3 are all on our list. It's just a matter of where. So we'll start with Ozzy
oh
Albis,
boy.
Joe,
Here he
for the
is.
Atlanta Braves. Do you want to
Yeah.
take Ozzy Albis?
Well, I haven't seen enough of him in the last couple of years. Let me tell you, this guy is exciting to watch. He hit 338, 5 homers, and 3 steals just in September last year. He's got a ton of upside. He sounds like he's a kid that wants to learn. I love watching him play the game. 24 years old, 221 hits, 30 home runs in 2 seasons. He steals 18 bases, which is first on the list. I mean, he's just, listen, a part of me wonders, and again, I'm not trying to solve anything for Atlanta because I don't even want to help them at all. But a part of me wonders why they don't just leave him in the leadoff spot because he just could start everything for you. If you use him and then maybe Acuna second, I don't know. They love Acuna leading off. I don't know if I love it for them, but either way, they have too many weapons. They're just too talented. Yeah, well, Derek, I'm going to see him a lot in the first week of April because we're going to see him 13 times or 2 times in less than 13 days, I should say. Yeah, the Atlanta Braves are powered by him, and he's a really, really good player. He's going to win a Gold Glove. He's really good defensively. But look at his slugging percentage, Derek. He's at almost 500%. He's at 495.
He's I would say the definition of someone who is overlooked because of the team that he's on with someone like Acuna, Freddie Freeman, obviously MVP in the past year.
Right.
Even though Marcelo Zuna, there are guys that are there, and now Christian Pache is coming up, the new young big name. So Albies just sits in the back there, and they haven't projected hitting second, which I wouldn't be shocked if he sits there. That is going to be hitting in between Acuna and Freeman and Ozuna.
Nightmare.
You can't ask for anything better than that. I would not be shocked if you see 25 home runs, 85 RBIs, and he can steal bases. Yeah, someone who's definitely going to be building up this list. Where did you have him, Joe? I have him right now at number 5.
I actually have him at 2, Derek.
2.
I got him at 2. I think I've seen so much of him. I'm just like Ozzy Albies. Like,
if it could be this year that his average gets up above 300, steals those bases, maybe and wins a Gold Glove, like you said, very good
30 guy. He could be a 30 home run, 30 stolen base
potential guy. To be way up that list in coming
I like
coming
Ozzy
years.
A lot. Yeah.
2 names remaining, Ketel Marte and Brandon Lau. First, we'll talk about Ketel Marte. Joe, I know you have him up high on your list as well, from Arizona, one of the few players hitting wise down in Arizona left.
Yeah, he's number 3 on my list. He's a very good contact hitter, but he also has a chance to hit 30 home runs. I think on our graphic, it shows you he had 50 doubles, which leads the second baseman's by only, actually, it's the second.
Yeah, not quite,
Yeah, almost. We're in the top 3. And then 34 home runs. So he still hit you about 20 a year almost, or a little less than 20. I'll tell you right now, Ketel Marte is the type of hitter that you just want in your lineup. He's that guy that's going to wear out pitchers. He has a WAR of almost 8, and he's only he's 27. He's been around a little bit. They lost Gerard Dyson somewhere. He went somewhere else. They've lost Goldschmidt. Arizona's been in a kind of a free fall in the West, and Marte's been one of their real steady players. I liken him to Cesar Hernandez. He reminds me of him. He's not a switch hitter, I don't think. I think he's a lefty bat.
Marte is a switch hitter, yeah.
Oh, is he a switch hitter? So that's even more of the comparison I go with in Hernandez. But Derek, where do you have him on your list, and why do you have him there?
And I think he hits home. I think he's more of a power hitter than Hernandez. Although
that's fair.
I think so. He hit 32 home runs in 2019, which is not what he is known to ever do. I think he's more of a 20 home run hitter, so maybe just a little bit more power.
Overachieved, Derek.
Yeah. In 2019, I think he did. So you may see these numbers these power numbers come down a little bit, but you're still going to see that average, that 319 average. You're going to get that. You're going to get the stolen bases. He's only had 11 in the past 2 years. He's not a great stolen base guy, so maybe only be 10 a year. But actually came from Seattle.
Oh,
And of course, I'm a little angry they moved him now, but we got him in the Mitch Haniger deal, and Mitch Haniger
oh,
hasn't, really
panned out.
panned out so much yet. But I think big things for him this year. But Ketel Marte, good defensively. You see the average, you see the on base double. I think he is more of a doubles hitter, but still a
Yeah.
very good hitter is Ketel Marte, and probably has to hit. He may lead off. Not too sure. Maybe he'll be like the three hitter for the Diamondbacks. We'll jump into the Diamondbacks in a few weeks, but which brings us to our final name. I don't need to spin the wheel. We see the name, Joe.
Yeah.
Um, Brandon Lau is the final. Did we say where you had Ketel Marte, by the way,
Oh, yeah. I
on
had him
your
at number
list?
3.
Okay, I have been number two. I have
Okay.
Brandon Lau actually as my second honorable mention. So, and he's very interesting as Brandon Lau. You see, he has the potential to be very high on these lists for good things and for bad things. You see, he only had 138 games, but 31 home runs, 88 RBIs. Slugging percentage is actually right up there with anyone. He can hit home runs and has a ton of power. But again, maybe the Keston Hira effect. You see, the 31% strikeouts is very high. And that would be the reason why I don't have many higher than honorable mention. But you can't deny that Brandon Lau definitely has a great bat.
Yeah, he impressed me in the postseason. He's not that household name. He does hit doubles and home runs though, and he doesn't hit a lot of them, but he still hits them. Uh, if you look at it, the only highlighted section he has is slugging percentage. Everything else is kind of mediocre, but I still think that he's really, really good. I have him at number 4. Um, and I like him. I think he's a good player. He'll be one of the reasons Tampa Bay has a big year.
Yes.
Um, and I still believe that I'm gonna have a hard time picking that division because our friend Phil there seemed like he was very sure of what he was doing. I am not that sure. Come our last show before the season starts. Yeah, Brandon Lau is just one of those guys, and Arezarona Reina. If he's a big star, Lau will fall behind him, and some of the other guys. But I like him on another team, maybe not so much, but he fits in good with this bunch, and I think he has
Sure.
himself a pretty good year again.
Yeah, and I would probably put him at a 20 to 25 home runs, 80 RBIs or so, and probably about 250. He's got to limit that strikeout percentage a little bit, but still very young on this list, 26 years old, so still very young. But well, that will do it. I'll stop sharing here. That'll do it for our second baseman top five current in Major League Baseball. Um,
Oh,
just
did you want to
to
run him
clear
down
things
there?
up. Yep. Yeah, just
Yeah,
to
yeah,
clear things up for everyone. Let's run through our list
yeah.
real quick, Joe. Go ahead.
Okay, so at number 8, I have Cesar Hernandez of the Cleveland Indians. Number 7, I have Mike Moustakis of the Cincinnati Reds. Number 6, I have Gavin Lux of the Los Angeles Dodgers. They were my honorable mentions. Number 5, I have Jose Altuve of the Houston Astros. Number 4, I have Brandon Lau of the Tampa Bay Rays. Number 3, Ketel Marte of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Number 2, Ozzy Albies of the Atlanta Braves. And number 1, DJ LeMahieu of the New York Yankees.
And then I had first honorable mention was Kevin Biggio. My second honorable mention was Brandon Lau. Number 5 was Ozzy Albies. Number 4, Colton Wong. Number 3, Jeff McNeil. Number 2, Ketel Marte. And number 1 was DJ LeMahieu of the New York Yankees. Well, that'll do it, Joe. So, any final thoughts on our second base show here?
Well, I have to say that it was definitely a little harder than I thought it was going to be, but it was fun to do, and I'm happy the wheel made its debut. We're going to have to bring that back.
Yes, maybe.
I forget on Monday we will be the AL Central, that's for sure. And next Friday we'll be stopping around another position. I'm assuming
Yes.
possibly.
Probably to third base because we already did
All
shortstop.
right, that's why I
So
wanted
we'll
to make
probably
sure.
do third
Okay,
base end of next
possibly,
week at some point.
possibly. Spoiler alert: we might be doing a show in person with me and Derek in the same place, and that might be
Maybe.
interesting if that works out. And then the following week, we're all excited because we're going to be doing March Madness wall to wall, 3 shows, and we'll talk about that as it gets here. And it was always fun. And all I got to say is spring training is definitely underway, and we got more to talk about, of course, coming up with all that. So
Yes,
good
so we
times.
hope everyone enjoyed our this was our top 5 second basemen in going into the 21 season. So we hope everyone enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe everywhere, and the drill. But thank you as always, everyone, for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us. Everyone stay safe as always and take care.